Today I'm going to make a very simple and delicious beef sauce. Let's go. So I bought a whole beef from the market and I decided or proceeded to cut them into desired sizes. You can actually buy the pre-cut ones they have at the malls or any supermarket of choice, but then when you go to most markets, you can tell the people selling the beef to cut them into these sizes for you. I wanted to cut them myself, so these are the two options. Please make sure you wash it thoroughly before you proceed to use it. If you buy it and are going to be using it the next day or the next week or something, make sure you put it in the freezer, not in the fridge, because I've placed it in the fridge before and a few days later it didn't really look so good. So place it in the freezer. That's the safest place. So as you can see, I've cut all my beef into my desired sizes. Now I'm going to proceed to cut my veggies. Now we are going to proceed to cut our vegetables. So for the vegetables, it really depends on you. Some people decide to cut them into cube size, others decide to cut them thinly or in bigger chunks. It depends on how you want it. If you're a veggie person like me and you always want to see your veggies in your food, you might probably want to go for bigger chunks. I decided to do thinly sliced but still make it bigger chunks so that I can see them in my food. So for the veggies, I used red bell peppers, yellow bell peppers, and green bell peppers because for me they really give it a very nice color and they make the colors really pop, which I really like when I'm doing beef sauce. And then I also added some carrots, spring onions itself, because why not? You can never have enough onions. I'm an onion addict, so it has to be everywhere I cook. As I said, the sizes are really dependent on you and your preference. So these are how I'm cutting mine, but you can just cut it any way you want. Big, small, cube size, thinly sliced. You can even grate them if you don't want to see your veggies in your food. But then just make sure there's some veggies in there because that's what makes beef sauce beef sauce. So here I'm cutting my onions. I told you guys that I'm an onion addict. I always want to see my onions in big chunks in my food. I was going to eat this with my mom, so I decided to cut them a bit smaller because she's not really a vegetable person like me. But then as I said, you can just cut it in any sizes you want. And for the onions, you can either use the red onions or the white onions. Any of them is fine. This is what I had at home, so this is what I used. I'll now proceed to cut my spring onions, even though that will come in at a very later time. When I'm cooking, I always like to prep my ingredients and just keep them there so that I know that anytime I want anything, it's just there right next to me. Do you prep your ingredients when you're cooking, or you just go with the flow? I've realized that prepping my ingredients really helps me because it makes me faster, it saves me time, and my working space doesn't become messy because I've already done all the preliminary works and now it's just cooking because all my ingredients are already waiting for me. So I'm also cutting my carrots. With the carrots, it really depends on you and how you want it. Some people dice it, some people grate it, others, I just decided to cut mine like this because I said I really like veggies and I like seeing them in my food. So now we've cut all our vegetables. For the vegetables, you can use any vegetables of choice. You can use broccoli, cauliflower, you can use green beans, all of that. Anything you want to use, it's perfectly fine. So we have our beef here cut, and then we have our vegetables as well. So we're going to start with our beef sauce. I used a bit of sunflower oil here. You can use any oil of choice. Now I have some grated garlic. I'm going to be adding it to the oil. Next, I'm also going to be adding some grated ginger to give it some very nice aroma. You're going to combine this for like a minute and then you're going to add your beef to it. Next, you're going to add your cut up beef and then I'm going to add some seasoning and let it cook for a few minutes. So some people decide to season the beef before they add it to the oil. Others add it to the oil and then they add their seasoning. Either way is fine. For my seasoning, I use some beef seasoning, rosemary, and then a stock cube, and I added everything together, combined it. Make sure you mix everything well so that the seasoning goes all sides or all the way into the beef, and then you cover it to make it cook or simmer for some time. The heat is necessary to make sure the beef has cooked properly, because you're not going to cook it, so it has to cook and be tender so that it's not easy to eat it. Once it's been on fire for about 5 to 10 minutes, you can see that it looks really good. We're going to keep adding our stuff, and I'm just going to give it a good mix and then start adding my veggies. So I'm going to start with the onions. Some people can start with the carrots because the carrots are usually harder than all the other veggies. So I've added my onions in here. Next, I'm going to add my carrots. You can see how the beef sauce is already popping with color. I like the diversity. That's why I use the different bell pepper colors so that it gives it this nice look. So next, we're going to add our bell peppers, our red, yellow, and green bell peppers. It's looking so beautiful already. And then we're going to give everything a good mix. Now for the pepper, it depends a lot on what you want. You can grind fresh pepper and add it. I used chili flakes. It's just dried chili, and I pounded it in my small mortar and I added it. You can also use powdered pepper. So it really depends on what you want and how you want it to be. But then I also like the chili flakes because of the texture it gives it. Also going to cover this for about 5 minutes to make it cook. Then we go on with the next. After about 5 minutes, you're going to lift the cover and then also give it a good mix. This part is so important, so please pay attention. After mixing everything together, we're going to be adding our thickener. So for the thickener, you're going to use soy sauce, water, and cornstarch. You're going to mix everything together, and it's going to give you something like a brown sauce. The amount of water you use is dependent on how thick or how watery you want your beef sauce to be. So I'm adding it to my beef sauce here. After mixing it, I realized the water wasn't enough, so I added some water to the bowl, and then I rinsed it and I added it to the beef sauce because I realized it was a bit dry. So as I said, the water is really dependent on how you want it. This is perfectly okay for some people, and mind you, when you leave this on fire for a few minutes, the water is going to be it's going to evaporate, and it's going to be a lot thicker or dry, so you want to add a bit more water to it. So I added a bit of water. As I said, I rinsed the water in the bowl that had the brown sauce before adding it. That's why it has this color. Then I added some more cube to it, and then salt. So it depends on you. If you think the seasoning you use for the beef isn't enough, you can beef it up. If it's okay for you, you just leave it. You add or adjust your salt and you are good to go. So I'm going to give this a very good mix, and then when I'm done, I'm going to cover it for like 3 to 5 minutes and let it sit for a while. But before that, I'm also going to do something else. You remember the spring onions we cut? We've still not added it. That is because if you add it too early, it's going to become so soft. So we add it at the latter part when the sauce is almost ready, so that it doesn't get missing or it's not swallowed up by the sauce. So once you do that, you just mix everything up. It looks beautiful. Look at all the colors and the texture. I just love it, and it goes so well with any kind of dish: rice, yam, spaghetti, noodles, just name it. And this sauce, it was so yummy. It was so delicious. I want everybody to try it. And as you can see, it's pretty simple to follow. It's not really complicated at all. As long as you have your ingredients, it's so easy for you to make it. Let me know in the comments if you are going to try this, and if you love this video, and if you have any other recipes you want me to make on this channel. For now, go and enjoy your beef sauce. I paired mine with turmeric rice. It was so amazing.